Hey everybody, this is Yafrafan, and today is May 7th. This is video 1 of 2. I'm going to go over the spell creator system, where it stands. I'm going to walk you through creating some spells, common gotchas, etc. I've also updated the install instructions, so please go ahead and take a look at those. So over here, I've moved spells out of content into its own section, and it does show up correctly, under your customize. There's some new exposed settings in settings. If we click here, we scroll down, you will see there's the spell creator path. The new scripts should help to, let's say, correctly, set those, but please be mindful of that. This is the spell creator. There's still the spell editor, which was already in the game, well, in the SuperUI. I haven't touched that, and I haven't made any improvements yet. And there's also the spell visualizer, so we'll kind of go over everything and where it's at. For the spell creator, as of today, you can take any spell, you can change the color, the particle intensity, give it a unique icon, the correct text, and this is going to output a valid MPQ file with all your custom spells, and we're going to verify that in game. So, before I do anything else, what I'm going to do is load up the game so you all can see. And I'm going to go ahead and enter the game. I'm on my mage character for testing. We're going to look at the skill bar. We're going to look at general. There's nothing here. This is all normal. Fire has fireball. Frost has frost armor, right? I've not actually bought anything. And we'll also go look at the trainers later on. So with that said, let me go ahead and get us back over. Exit the game. I'm going to start with something fun. Let's take Frostbolt. I'm going to go ahead and click Frostbolt. It's going to show me what rank 1 has in terms of some basic things, what number spell it is, the mana cost. I'm going to hit continue. I'm going to call this Arcane Bolt. Why not? Tooltip description here. These are auto-calculate. They're basically variable placeholders, and the game will use the damage of the different types to autofill. So I've left the original description in, and in this case, instead of, frost, we're going to say, launches a bolt of arcane at the enemy, dealing, money S2, which is the variable arcane damage. And for a moment, it is going to have the same effects as Frostbolt, right? So it will slow because I just piece by piece, maybe next week, the week after that, we'll start getting into modifying the actual effects and really creating spells from scratch. We'll get into that. But I am going to go ahead and make it arcane damage. For now, I'm going to put it on mage, but I am going to put it into the frost tab just because I don't have the arcane tab yet. And so I'm putting it in the frost tab so that we can verify that it works, right? But it will do arcane damage. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. Here we could change some parameters, right? Our mana cost, range, cast time, etc. Here you can pick some pre-built colors, or you can go into the color picker here. I'm going to go for like a bright pink, let's say. There are quick presets for how you want the particles to act. If we open this up, this is currently how the particles are set for Frostbolt in the game. So if I click Nova, you're going to see that the impact really takes off here. For example, we could also say, I really want the particle density to be a lot higher in the missile, and I'd like the precast spread area to be higher as well. I could generate an AI spell icon if you have a local AI node, which I'm also going to go over towards the end of this video for those that are interested in that. I don't want to go over it right now as I don't think that many people may be interested in that. But all of these icons you see here are generated by my local Flux model on an RTX 3060 12 gigabyte. So you do not need some massive GPU to do it. I'm going to go ahead and, reuse, I don't know, let's call it this icon here. I'm going to go continue. I'm going to generate all the ranks. So it's taking all of Frostbolt's ranks and it's just mimicking that across the board, but obviously with the new name, with the new icon, everything. And trainer registration, we're going to go ahead and copy that to all the different trainers that Frostbolt would have been in. And in game, I'll show you what that looks like. Go ahead and hit continue. This is the review. In this case, since I don't have an icon that I'm generating, it's very quick. So you're going to download your patch file. This is already opening up into my WoW client data. It's going to be patch 3, or you could call it patch 4 as well if you already have a patch 3. Go ahead and hit yes. You remember at this point, you do need to reboot the world. So go over to dashboard, start world. Very good. At this point, I want to go ahead and open WoW again. Give me a second. Okay, very good. In we go. We jump in. And since I had already had something in my, you do have to delete your WDB folder. I'm not sure that I did. So that might be a bit of an issue. But in this case, it's not, as we can see. I have a interesting looking pink fireball. It's called Arcane Bolt, and you can see that the tooltip is correct. Of course, again, it has the same effects as Frostbolt right now, and is actually frost damage because that's the school that we put it in. And it does correctly show up under the spellbook tab. I'm also going to go ahead and log on to a different mage that's at a city trainer so that we can look at that. And that's Arcane. No, not Fire, Frost, which is where we put this. And we can see that Arcane Bolt is at the trainers, and it is correctly showing, if you will, the spell icon, etc., etc., etc. So this can be done with any, let's say, current existing spell in the game, and it'll work because those are valid PNGs. Results can vary. I go ahead and go back now to the spell creator, and I'm going to show you a bit more about the interface. We just use the guided creation, which is kind of a hand-holdy way of doing it, but nice. The workshop is more of a just hands-on way of doing the same thing, but you're not really being led. It's just simply working through it. So if I wanted to say copy Fireball, and I wanted to call this, I don't know, Thunderball, change the tooltip to say what I want, what kind of color do I want it to have, etc., etc. What's different here is that Workshop actually has 2 built-in tabs, the other one being Visual Studio. And Visual Studio is a little more complex in that, again, we're copying Fireball. This is going to be Thunderball. We're going to make it holy damage because that's fun. And I'll teach it to mage testers in this case here. This one does not create the multi-ranks right now because this is just still playing around, versus the quick create button. This was a bit older, but still functional. I'm going to say I want it to be lightning, electrical, but I'd really like it to be like a, I don't know, it's kind of a yellow here. I'll use one of these icons that I've already generated. Now, while I want this to be cosmic in terms of emitters, when we open this up, we can see where that lands us here, right? Different multipliers. But what's interesting is that I can change the color to say each phase gets its own look. So maybe precast, this one's going to use global, which will actually be the yellow. But I'd like the impact of the thunderball to be a cyan blue, I guess. So let's go ahead and generate the patch. I think in this case I made a mistake in that this page is forcing the AI generation regardless of the flag. So just wait a moment. It should take about 30-40 seconds for an icon to generate. And while the generation is running, I'd say leave the page open. Don't navigate away. All of these that you see here, precast, cast, missile, impact, are the different phases that this spell has. Not all spells have the same phases. I haven't tried this with all spells. I haven't gotten there yet, but I think it's pretty fun to make, you know, different colored spells like that. Right. And actually, what I realized here is that this is, I forgot, that's a mistake. This is actually generating entirely new visuals for the spell. So I'm looking at my my graphics card on a different screen, and it's running full steam ahead at trying to generate all the different PNGs that then get blended with their alpha channels, etc. And so this tool is actually the generate an entirely new looking spell tool that kind of works. And now that I had you sit here and kind of go through it, we'll come back to this so that you can see the results of where that's at. But while that's producing, we're going to go ahead and look at the spell visualizer. The spell visualizer, work in progress. It is not perfect. We take, say, fireball. We load the visual into a 3D space. You can cycle through the background here. I'm going to go ahead and put a gray. I hit play. You can see the cast, precast. Then you can see the missile and impact phase. Now, you can see some of those black boxes because actually in the game, it blends those into the background. So it doesn't look all that good here. I'll be working on how can I smooth that out. But ultimately, this is where I plan to be able to pull in any of the spells that you're working on and creating, expose all of the emitters for every spell phase, because they have, let's say, each emitter has 9 different parameters. You can have n number of emitters per cast phase. And so you're talking about billions of combinations, but being able to kind of quickly run through different options here on the side and kind of see how that changes the spell real time, the color, the spread, everything is the goal of the visual lab. But again, it is still very much a work in progress. So, you can play around with it, you can load spells, but it doesn't really do anything yet as I haven't put in the editing tools. And while we're waiting for that, I am going to go back to the spell creator on a different tab and walk you through everything else. Once you've generated patches, the patch is up here at the top, and it's always going to be patch 3.mpq. It will automatically rebuild as you delete and add spells. As you have more spells, you can hit custom spells, and if there's multiple ranks of a spell, you'll see that it actually is all unified under one macro group. And when you delete that, it deletes the entire group. In this case, Thunderball has already been created, but of course we don't actually have the icons yet for the spell. The actual art, it creates that look. Yeah, in the spell visualizer, if you cycle through down here, refresh that. You cycle through the backgrounds, you will notice that it also does load the game kind of wonky or pseudo look of the game. This was an early version of the terrain editor / viewer that is under world and maps, but that's a separate video that I don't want to mix, and I'll be releasing that today as well. So if you see that and you wonder why it's kind of broken and janky, it's because I kind of dropped development on this side and moved it into its own section for now, and then I'll circle back and hook it in once it's more functional. So we can see that Thunderball's been created with a custom look. It will not look totally correct because, again, it is custom. I'm going to go ahead and replace that. Again, I'm going to stop the server. Then I'm going to start the server. I'm going to delete my WDB folder in the client. Go ahead and start up the client. Oh, wrong mage. Wrong mage. So for our mage test, open up my spells. Forgot to put Thunderball in a valid class. So unfortunately, Thunderball found itself in general because Visual Studio, I did not add the fixes that I had come up with towards the end as it's still in a test phase. But this is kind of what that looks like. It doesn't actually look all that bad, all things considered. But of course, you can see the square artifacts. And so not ready to really call this done yet, but work in progress. And I think we're, a few weeks away from having really custom spells. The idea being you could do a cast into a precast, into a channel, I don't know, different steps to it. So that's pretty much it for the spell creator for today. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the AI now for the few people that do want to integrate that. If you go into your settings page, you will see that there's now also an AI services, and specifically it's mostly for the icon generation. It does expect one Olama model. I'm using this exact model, which is about 3.5, 4 gigabytes of VRAM, and then your Flux, and that's in the documents as well, that I'll be releasing today. But basically, let's say you had multiple GPUs at home or multiple instances and you wanted to distribute the workload, you can add nodes over here, and you just put the computer name with the IP and the port that that service is running on. And this is because I have multiple, say, RTX 3060s and maybe one more card, and I want to get the work process as fast as possible. Therefore, I have multiple nodes running. What Ollama does for this is it takes your spell description and name and elaborates that into a full paragraph description that then Flux, which is the image generation model, uses this better description to come up with the icon for your spell, right? That being, for example, and I've said I want Ether Strike in the beginning. Okay, this is what that looks like. This is another attempt at Ether Strike, right? This is like Thunderbolt or, I don't know, Ice Bolt or something. And so all of this is still kind of rough. It's not perfect, but it is working. It's valid MPQ files. You can add as many spells as you want, play around with it. But please understand that for the icons, if you don't have an AI service, it will either pull from existing icons, get a closest match from, let's say, already existing in-game icons, or in today's case, I'm going to release all of these generated icons so that you can have a couple of, let's say, fresh icons that aren't in-game to test with. Hey, thank you for sticking through the long video. Sorry for the rambling, and thank you so much.